Evening, everyone. Welcome to the Rate Review Committee meeting. Today's Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. This meeting of the Ayer Rate Review Committee will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID number 978-772-8220 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100, prior to the meeting. All right, first up is the review and approval of the draft January 13, 2026 meeting minutes. Anybody had any concerns? Yeah.
Through the chair. I noticed two things. One, on the bottom of page 2, it says that I was still refining estimates to the fiscal year 27 sewer capital budget. I was refining the water capital budget, not the sewer.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll make that change.
Okay, and the other?
The other is on page 3. This Tierney stated the current balance of the sewer retained earnings as 4.8 million plus, and it says that we used 600,000, whereas we increased by 600,000.
Got it. So instead of we increased
Approximately 600, yeah.
retained earnings increased by 600,000 last year
For sewer, yes.
for sewer. Got it. Sorry about that.
All right, anything else? Oh, there's nothing else?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The chair says aye, the meeting minutes have been approved. Okay, so now we're going to continue review and discussion of the proposed FY 2027 water and sewer rate recommendation scenarios.
Okay.
Barbara, you want to take it, or Barbara, you want to take it?
Barbara, do you want to go through the scenarios and I can make some suggestions as
Okay.
Sure.
So these should all be in the same order. They're not in any particular order, but do you want to just go as
Yeah.
they're in the packet?
Yep. And that's this up on the screen.
Nope, this is our model on the fly if we want to look at other scenarios.
Okay. I'm just gonna
Yeah, you
put
can
the
decrease that.
model up. All right, here we are, rate review. So the first one is for water is a 2%, assuming using 250,000. So for those that have the hard copy packet, it's the first page, and that's it on the screen.
So this scenario is one of the scenarios that we suggested. It's showing a 2% increase in fiscal 2027 and using 250,000 in retained earnings. So you can kind of see in the diagram that it still looks a little short for 2027, and then we're going right back down. And just for all these models, I just wanted to point out on that second page, it's very small, but for all these scenarios, I think it's really important to look at the water fund balance and water fund balance projections that come along with these. So, for example, the water fund projection would using 500, if we use 250, it's projecting a 4.2 million, but then it projects it out, like if we kind of continue these trends, where our fund balance could end up. So I just wanted to point out to look at that.
So
It's going to decrease, you mean? Am I
Yeah.
reading this right?
Yes. So if we're using retained earnings and it's going to project we continue to do so in this model because we used it for this model, it just gives you like a projection of where our fund balance may be goes all the way through, is that 20?
So Barbara,
37?
so
37.
following that model, then by FY 32, there'd be a $1.1 million shortfall.
Yes, if we continue the trend of
That's
using,
assuming
using
it-
retained earnings. And
Okay,
so I just wanted to point that out for all the models, so you can kind of get an idea.
So essentially the disclaimer is that these models are fixed. And they're not interpreting what the humans are going to decide.
So it does project future years based on the current model and decision we're looking now. So it does assume using retained earnings in the future, yes.
Okay.
But it's also important to look at, because if we do continue that trend, what it could look like.
If I may, I'm not sure that it does, I could be wrong, project that we continue to use retained earnings. It looks like there's a decrease, so that means retained earnings is not carrying through, and it's just going with a 2% increase
The
from
two,
there
the
on.
2% also does project forward, so it does
Yes.
also assume just a 2%. I can look back at the model again, but when we look at the live version to determine that.
Somebody make sure that if anybody raises their hand, because it's
Oh,
not showing up on this
okay.
screen.
all right.
So just keep
I'm watching
me
for it.
posted.
Yep.
So do you want me to just go through each model, or do we want to discuss each one as we go? Like do you want me to go through all four scenarios and then?
Yeah, let's go through
discuss?
the other scenarios and then we can come back.
Okay. So the second scenario is a 1.5% water. Are we gonna do all water first as well? Or do you want me to look at sewer?
We'll do water first.
Okay,
Sorry, hang on, I just lost our.
the second scenario, once he gets it up,
There we go.
is 1.5%
So this will be 1.5.
and using
water.
500,000 retained earnings. That's it. They're combined on the models.
Oh, good.
So we're only discussing water, but it has both.
Water, okay, this is water, 1.5% with 500,000 retained.
So just if you want to take a look at that and comments.
Eargings with retained eargings.
Oh, sorry.
If I may,
Mhm.
I would just say that it looks like with this scenario for fiscal year 27, we're above what's needed. So
Okay.
we would be putting money back into retained earnings.
So it would be,
We would be taking out of retained earnings as a buffer, but we would end up at the end of the year, whatever's left over, putting back into retained
Do you
earnings
feel like 500,000 is more than we need?
with the
to buffer?
combination of the 1.5.
Okay.
More. So you're saying that the 1.5% with the 500,000 retained, it actually gives us more than what we need for FY 27.
That's what it appears to me.
I mean, based on the model, okay. I just want to make sure I get it correctly. So in essence, we could adjust the 500,000 potentially down.
Correct.
And then just for general information, if you do not need to use a full amount of retained earnings, the way the year end calculates, it does drop back down into your balance. So just keep that in mind.
so even if we decided to go with the head with the 5, it's not gonna hurt us in any way.
Right. It would probably give you a little more of a buffer for potential operating issues, expense issues, revenue. All right.
Okay.
The third model for the water portion, it's 2% and 500, the sewer, yep, that one.
Okay, so this is water 2% with 500,000 retained.
I feel like it's the same result as the one we just had up, and it gives you more than we'll probably need for fiscal 27 as far as retained earnings use. And the last scenario is if we didn't use retained earnings, I just kept upping the percentage increase, so you could kind of see what the percentage increase may be needed in order to cover fiscal 27 and beyond if we weren't using any retained earnings.
And that, what would that percentage be?
16.5 for fiscal 27. And then Kimberly actually adjusted it going forward, just so that it would cover the projected expenses, and it was 16.5 again in 28, 8% in 29.
You want to raise rates 16.5%?
No, this is just for informational purposes to show that if we weren't using retained earnings,
We have to raise.
We would have to raise it to 16.5%
in
to.
order to have a positive cash flow for the year according to the model.
Whoa.
So that was just for.
Okay, no, that's
informational
good. No, that's
purposes.
good.
I
No,
make
that's
no
good.
opinion.
But wow, yeah, we don't want to do that one.
No takers on
Yeah,
four.
no,
Yeah.
I'm
one
gonna
thing-
veto that right now.
Yeah, but I mean, one thing to note is our revenues have gone down the past couple of years, but with the Clearwell project, we'll be producing more water and selling more, and our revenue should come up. So that's why we look so kind of far down on most of these graphs in our revenue.
Mhm.
And also,
Yeah.
if I recall, the people that did the model mentioned that nationally, there's about a 1% decrease of water usage nationally every year, because people are conserving.
Yeah, more efficient
Got it.
fixtures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
All right. Any initial comments on what we've heard so far?
Oh,
Hmm?
go
Yeah,
ahead,
go ahead.
Kurt.
I am leaning towards actually the first thing with 2%. Because even with the 2%, we're still keeping revenue up. And we got to keep revenue up. So I don't think the 1.5% will cut it. And then as far as the retained earnings part, I would go with just 250, because as it shows in this other chart, when we go to 500,000, that's nice, but we end up putting it back. It really doesn't have a great effect overall.
But I thought you said, Barbara, that if we did the water 2% with the 250, we won't have enough.
It looks like it's not quite there on the
But if we
model.
did the 1.5 with the 500, we actually get more than enough.
For 2027, yeah. And
So
if
we
you
could
did-
do a 1.5 with maybe a 350 retained earning? Just throwing out a number for conversation.
You do have the live model.
Because then we can just get us, what we need with maybe a little bit of a buffer.
So my one concern is that continually only doing 2% or less, and I get, we want to try to alleviate as much our taxpayers. This is, the combination between taxes and water rate. My one concern is if we continue the trend of every year using retained earnings and every year doing a lower percentage, that in the future we might end up having to play catch up to an extent that may hurt more for our residents. But I
Fair
digress
point.
on that.
Yeah, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, I kind of second that. We saw that 16.5% raise. Is revenue gonna make up all 16.5% of that? Probably not. So, I think we still need to consider some raising now, so we don't have to do a major raise later, potentially. I think I'd say, yeah.
I'm just, it makes me concerned looking forward in
Yeah.
the future of the next 5 years, that I wouldn't want to charge less now and then have to do a larger
No?
one
Yeah.
in
That
2
makes
or 3
sense.
years from now. But again, that's just from
Well,
looking
that's
at
why
the
we have a
model.
public hearing.
Yes.
We only make a recommendation.
Yeah.
We only make the recommendation. So, well, okay, so you want to stay with the water 2%. You think that's a good idea. But I understand what you're saying about retained earnings, but at the same time, should we not use, or do you want to use 2% no retained earnings?
Well, I think if we only raise 2%, we'd have to use retained earnings, or
Okay.
else we'd have an operating revenue shortfall.
All right, and what would you want to use for, I know you don't want to use retained earnings. You're a money manager, you're like, "Ah,"
I really
you know,
don't.
but if 250 is gonna fall short, and 500 is too much. Would 350 be okay?
I mean, we can plug it into the model, but I'd like to hear from the experts.
Yep.
Right, well, if I may,
Mm-hmm.
I believe, my understanding is we are very low on our rates nationwide. We compare very low. I would like to see more of a 5%. And using some retained earnings as a buffer until we have a better sense of how the Clearwell project will improve our revenues. I do feel that continuing to lean on retained earnings just kicks the can down the road, and eventually we're gonna run out of retained earnings, fall beneath that dotted line, which is the suggested amount that we should have in retained earnings. And we're gonna have to have a large increase, like the 16%. So keeping it, trying to ease people into that increase, because if you look at the chart, the expenditures do not decrease, they only increase until fiscal year 33, when some debt service goes off the books, it looks like.
I'm just concerned that a 2% from last year to a 5% for this year is a big jump.
Would you like me to plug a different percent with the 250 in the model? I do have the model editable
Yeah.
live if you'd like.
Then we can have a sense of what the rate would actually be.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, no, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the live document. So if we were to, in the revenue for water, right here is where it would go. If we were to keep that at 250,000, knowing not quite enough, and I can show you where it's easier to see. It's hard to print all these screens,
Right.
but as you can see, even with a 250 at 2%, it's showing a $75,000 cash flow shortfall. So
What about a 3%?
so if we look at a 3%, there. Cash flow. It does decrease it, less than I would have thought, but again, this is using the model.
Does this, so this is the 3%, is this including the 250 in retained earnings
Mhm.
too?
Yep. So I mean,
Still
if
goes
we
negative in the next
if
year.
we didn't want to raise it more than 3%, I mean, you can also look at, like Janet, what did you say, 350?
Yeah.
So we're kind of doing a little compromise to start weaning
Right, just
people
to pull-
on.
Yeah.
Cash flow, yeah, and what's this really close? Oh, we should have looked, sorry.
Yeah, where'd you
Cash
go?
flow was at 48 positive
Yeah.
by increasing, so that would give us a little bit of a buffer in the event there was ever a shortfall of almost 50,000 in the operational
Can we
revenue.
go back to the dash?
Sure.
For a second, then, so what are we at right now? We're at 3%.
3%.
Using,
Go down to the bottom right, it's like your typical single family residential bill. Just wondering what that looks like when you go,
this chart right here,
yeah, so your water is the bottom number, so it'd be. You go for $133 a year in FY 26, 137. On 3%, okay.
Okay, that's
Just kind of thinking
that's
of
not
the.
bad, so it's
That's not
more,
bad at all.
$4.
$2 to $3 a
Yep.
year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
See, this is why we have all these scenarios, because it's a good conversation.
Yes.
so I will write that scenario down as something to send out, so would we
Okay,
say
so right now we're talking 3%,
350,000?
350.
Oh,
Retreat.
Did you plug in the
I did,
350?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that gave us a buffer of about 48,000.
Correct.
And I mean,
And
We
then
always
the
have
next
other-
year, if, once we look at the scenario, whatever's going on and everything, we can look at like a 3.5 to just throwing out for conversation with a 250 retained and start doing it that way.
yeah, and also once the
Yeah.
clear well is done, if we do find the increased production makes a difference.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll get more certainty.
Okay.
there.
All right.
So can I just make sure I understand, because that's what I was thinking about. So, okay, we're with the 3% and the 350, will we look good this year? We start going negative next year already. However, if that clear well, if the revenue, or the actual usage and revenue keeps going up because of the clear well, that'll maybe offset some of that right off the bat.
Right, so our
Okay.
our conversation next year on water could be a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So, but, okay, so,
It's always most accurate first year. As you get 3, 4, 5 years out, it's, we're dealing with projections. So.
so how does everybody feel about that? A 3% with 350?
Yeah, I think it's incrementally moving towards, and I understand exactly where you're coming from, Kimberly, as the water and sewer superintendent. I think it's moving us in that direction, and then we have the clear well going online, this year. So when we reconvene next year, we'll have a refined picture, as they say. That's just my perspective.
Did you want me to look at any other scenario? The 5 that you mentioned?
That one's good. Well, okay, do a 300,000 instead of a 350. And let's just see.
Well, yeah.
I'm just curious. If we don't have to go up that much, we won't.
Like
Oh,
a
it's
negative.
short.
So
Yes.
if it was at 48, almost 49, so yeah.
And just through the chair, if Barbara, real quick, could we just, as Kimberly was saying, I just see what 5%, no retained earnings, and maybe the screen that Dan had, just to see what the difference in the.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So 5%, no retained earnings.
So it looks like it's predicting a little bit of a shortfall, but if we wanted to see how it affected the customer's bill by doing 5% before adding retained earnings, it looks like $6.
That's
From 133
$2.
to 139.
So it's still a dollar for this is the average.
Yeah.
Right, single family.
And how much money does this generate in terms of the cash flow?
So it's
So at 5%, no retained earnings, the average bill is $6 increase.
We said it.
a negative 253 by doing 5% with no retained earnings. So we could easily say still use 300,000 for a $47,000 cushion.
So if we did the 3% with the 350, we come out with in the black of 48,000.
And if we did 5% with 300, it'd be about the same thing.
So if we say we want to use 350,000 in retained earnings, but there's a chance we might not have to use it, and then it comes back. So
Yes.
then we haven't lost anything.
Correct. So if the way the budget so it works is if, operating revenues come in higher than the projections of the model, potentially not have to use all that retained earnings.
Well, it sounds like our best scenario right at the moment. What was it? Was it
Yeah.
3.5%?
It's
Or no, it was 3% with 3.5.
350,000
350,000.
would put it estimated at about 48,000 in the black for FY27. And the difference in the average bills.
It's like $4.
Yeah.
I think.
$4.
Yeah.
And then if we did 5%, the difference was $6. We would have to do 300,000 in retained earnings, in my opinion, to have a positive cash flow.
So we're still gonna end up using retained earnings.
We would budget 50, we could budget $50,000 less according to the model and still have a positive cash flow. So those are the two scenarios.
So your point being taken, using about the 5%, what are your thoughts on the other side in sense of incrementally getting there at the 3% with 350?
So I still would like to see closer to 5% just to get us stepping a little closer to not having to use retained earnings.
over the
Now,
next few
just
years.
over the next few years, and to be fair, and just to clarify, I wasn't suggesting 5% without retained earnings. I was suggesting 5% with like 250
Okay.
retained earnings, because if we weren't using any retained earnings, we already saw we'd have to be at like 16.5%.
Okay.
Um,
But with this approach, just
Mhm.
through the chair,
Mhm.
because you run the whole show and Dan's your assistant on water and sewer. I appreciate, and I think you getting to that point, the 5%, right? If we did for this year, the 3% with the 350, so we know that's gonna put us in the black at
Mhm.
48. And the Clearwell is scheduled to go on this summer or this spring, summer, and all things being equal, that should increase sales production, right? Fingers crossed. Would that be in your opinion, a prudent approach? And then we revisit next year. I know what you're getting at. We want to get to a point of it not using retained earnings and having the percentage. But on the flip side, with the ratepayers and the way they're footing the bill and everything is so expensive.
Yes,
I think that
I
that's a good
understand.
balance.
yes,
Do you?
I agree. I do.
All right, so right now, I want to make sure I didn't get lost in that conversation. We're looking at the 3% with the 350 in retained earnings.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and that should give us about a 48,000
Yeah.
buffer. And
And
if
then-
we're lucky, it'll give us a bigger buffer, and then next year we'll be like, woo-hoo.
Right, so the
You know?
Clearwell, all fingers and toes across that the Clearwell will increase production and sales.
And I do like reducing how much we're using in retained earnings, even if it's gradually, so that we slowly.
No, I
Put up
agree. I
that
think
too,
this
yeah.
is a good approach.
Me too.
It's a good approach, but.
Plus, with
Yes,
Sawyer,
Kurt.
you can buy some more water. right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Already.
See?
Plus, I just wanted to throw out one other consideration. So hope that this, what we're talking about is hoping and assuming, which is pretty good, that revenue is going to increase. Also, will the settlement money that hopefully we'll get some now and maybe some more in the future, that might have a positive effect. That's more gray
Well,
area.
if I may,
Mm-hmm.
that settlement money can only be used towards PFAS related
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
operations.
We don't even-
have PFAS expenses
We do
every
have
year.
PFAS expenses, but it's not as if we can just take a chunk of that and put it towards, like we do with the retained earnings.
But that being said, the PFAS needs for fiscal 27, they are recommending using the settlement money for
Correct.
that. So those expenses are not in this model.
Right,
Oh,
so it
oh, okay.
decreases what
Oh,
we're
it is.
All
borrowing.
right, so, yeah, okay. So we're really, this is looking forward, the water is tight. So we're gonna go up with at least 3% and then the.
50.
The 350 and looking into the future, increased revenue may help with future stuff also.
All right,
All right.
sounds good.
All right, and then we're switching gears to sewer, wastewater. All right, mouse.
Do you want to start with that one? That's up there, using no routine?
Okay, so all right. So
I know it's
sewer,
backwards.
if we,
The
oh,
current one.
we'll go in order.
Order?
based on
Okay.
what folks have.
Okay.
Let me just go back, so. Okay, so,
So the first one was, that we did with 2%, 250, was just a water one. So first one to start with is the 1.5. Yeah.
okay, so
1.5. Oh,
It's
the one that says
Number
water,
two.
1.5.
Yeah. Want to open for you? There you go.
this is
2% with 250.
no 1.5 with 500, no,
So now we're gonna go through.
Yeah,
the
but you
sewer.
read the rest of
got
Yeah.
it. Sorry, gang.
So-
Yeah.
Sewer 2% with 250,000 retained. Go ahead, Barbara.
Yep, so you could see it's the right-hand side. What is it?
for revenue. Oh, we're not looking at
We're
the
not
live
live,
model.
so-
Oh, it's not the line model, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright. I mean, that's a 0.5% lower than what we've been increasing for the last few years. We've been doing 2.5%. there, it should, yeah. Here we go.
Thank you. No, sorry, gang. There we go. Okay. Yep. So on the 2% 250 scenario, you're saying that's on the percentage side, that's 0.5% less than what we've been doing?
Yep.
Okay.
So you want me to plug this into the live model?
Yeah.
Maybe the live model, I think, gives folks more detail.
Yeah.
Percent. And if we were to use the 250,000 that we're looking at right now?
Correct.
The cash flow first. And it looks like right there we already have, but it looks like it's going to use some of the retained earnings. If we have 131,000 cash flow, then that's projecting we'll use about 120,000 of the retained earnings with this scenario.
So if you lower the retained earnings?
Lower the retained earnings. Do you want me to do the 150,000?
Yeah, do the 150. Yeah, do 150.
Maybe I had it backwards in my head. Looks like there's still a positive 2%.
So 2% and 150, according to the model, for FY 27, you'd be about 31,000 in the black.
Yeah. But we are still using some of the retained earnings.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, if you want me to look at the norm we've been doing of the 2.5% to see what that looks like?
Sure.
So 2.5% and 150.
I'm gonna, if it's okay, just pull out the retained earnings first.
Okay.
And if we do the norm of the 150, let's see what that. It's predicting a $97,000 shortfall
Yeah, okay.
if we do 2.5%.
What if we did 100,000 in the
Fingers.
retained? That's really tight, but you know.
Barbara, may I ask you to go to the dashboard, please?
Sure.
And move down a little bit to the fund balance. If I may, I would just like to know how close the retained earnings is to that dotted line, so the less we use of retained earnings, I would advocate for that. I agree.
What would be the impact on the residents based on the current scenario?
Like a
$10.
$10 increase. And that's 2.5% using $100,000 of retained earnings. Would you like me to plug in 0 retained earnings and see what percent we would need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to see it?
Yeah.
I'll just go, this is just for midway. Not see where our cash flows would be.
So this is at 4%.
Shortfall.
Yeah.
No retained earnings, yeah.
All right, but in the impact on the residents of the, that's $16.
Yeah.
So if we want to kind of gradually also do the same thing, I don't know what the percentage would be, but same thing with sewer as well.
But if we did a small, so right now with the 4%, we're gonna have a shortfall. What if we did 50,000 in retained earnings?
That would
Yeah,
cover it.
so
That would cover it.
4%.
We're using a little bit, but we're also gradually starting that increase of rates
Right.
without doing it a lot.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
That would be 4 and then 50.
But I defer to.
Okay.
I
Little
don't know
bit of
how
a buffer.
Dan
Gives us a small buffer.
But it's at least going towards that trend of doing more than the 2.5%.
Mhm.
So looking right there and the rate increases with you FY 23, 24, 25, 26 up
Like
top.
over sewer?
the Table. I'm just saying the table up top.
Oh,
Is that
Oh,
what
okay.
we've done in past years for sewer? 5%, 5%. Last year was the only time we did 2.5. We used to be doing
Oh, I thought it
5.
was 2 years. Okay. Okay, no,
So
kind
really,
of.
we're still
Oh,
doing
so we've still, okay, you're right. Yep.
or would be lower than what we've normally been doing. Right? I remember Ralph tell us that typically it's around 5 or 6%. Or like
Now that you
most
say that, yep.
utilities Are doing for increases.
We did, it is just last year we decreased it. Good catch. I was
So
reading
the
backwards.
four with 50 gets you there, but once you get sort of more long term, it's usually what the 5 years a clearer picture than 10. We're starting to have a deficit if we're doing straight 4%.
So should we go?
Really? We
Are
only did
you?
2.5%?
Mhm.
We did.
Yeah, with no retained earnings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you, through you, Madam Chair, Dan, do you think we should go back to the 5% trend that Ref Tellis recommended, or do you think the 4 is?
Put in the 5, let's see what the impact is on the resident.
Impact purposes?
No, and that's with the 50.
Yeah, but that's
it's
So it's
50,000.
50, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'll impact the residents.
Oh, fair.
Oh,
Let me
It's like
just, but I'll
20.
take it out just in case.
What's our cash flow?
Cash flow,
Click on it.
you're there.
Okay, we're there.
Yeah.
All right.
Very tight, but I mean, we always have Springtown meeting in the event of something unknown, and it's a $20.
$20,
The
so
whole year, that's. And sewer is, yeah, wastewater too, right?
Yeah.
So,
But I think that you look better long term, right? If you go to the top graph again, the revenue.
our fund balance looks better,
yeah.
at least for the next couple of years than it did on the last one. if I
Right, but the
recall.
model thinks we're gonna do the same thing every year, which
Yes.
we know in 2 years it could be a whole different thing, so.
But it does. Because it's gonna project 5% for the future years too, so
What are some of the things that are coming up for sewer that we're gonna need to do?
We still have treatment plant improvements to do.
One more phase.
One more phase,
That's the big one.
That's what, 3.5 million?
at least 3.8.
3.8.
Right.
All right.
Oh, 3.5, but then 350 is another year phase, okay.
Did the 5 with the 50,000 do anything on the bill for the ratepayer?
So
I'm sorry,
this is
this-
5, it was $20.
Was
Having
20
a 5%, yeah.
with 50?
With, if I add, oh, shoot,
That was with no retained earnings.
yeah, I don't know if using retained earnings affects the bills. It's more just the rate increase, but
Okay.
we can look. It definitely now gives you a little more cushion if you budget the 50, because it was very tight for just the
Yeah. I just didn't
5%.
know if it gave any great relief.
No.
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 Because you're still
No,
raising
okay.
5%.
No, thank you. Okay. So
So are we leaning towards the 5% then with no retained earnings?
I don't know that there's a consensus, but what do
Okay,
you?
okay, yeah,
I
I mean,
haven't
I know, yeah.
expressed an opinion, I
Yeah.
just was giving.
Yeah. Let me throw out the elephant in the room. But stormwater, are we gonna discuss
We're not
that?
touching stormwater, we just, because it's just started getting paid.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
right. Okay,
so-
so we're not touching that this year.
Nope,
That's
nope,
what-
we talked about that last meeting, and there's
Okay.
no way, we've only gotten a couple of months worth of even people paying for it. It hasn't appeared, well, I think it's on my new bill, the one that I'm getting, that's arriving this week or something. So, no,
The main reason I bring that up is that there is not going to be with this, what we're looking at, as
It's
far as
just-
stormwater, there's no increase.
Correct.
correct, right.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Oh,
This is Sarah Withy.
hi, Sarah.
Did the DPW director say that he said most years were 5% except for last year for the
Yes.
wastewater increase?
Correct.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, so,
So if we did 5%, I'd still recommend 50,000 from retained earnings as a buffer because it was so close in the model.
yeah, I agree.
I will defer. And then if we don't need it, it'll just fall back to retained earnings.
What are we looking at, 5%?
Yeah, plus 50,000 retained, and that would put us about 10,000 in the black.
Right. Okay.
Plus, we will be in the black going forward too.
Potentially.
Yeah,
Potentially.
we'll give the cash. Okay.
The model certainly.
Well, I will point out that this model is plugging in $50,000 in retained earnings.
This one is for
It's
fiscal.
projecting.
Is it for every year?
It is for every year. It's projecting that
Yeah.
in.
Right,
Yes, you see how it, whatever I plug in.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
You do have to take that into consideration.
Okay. all right.
So just to recap, sort of where we're at in discussion, so on the water, we were at 3% plus 3% with 350,000 in retained earnings for FY 27 would put the fund approximately 48,000 in the black. And as discussed, that doesn't include the Clearwell going back on line. And then as of right now on the sewer, returning back to the 5% with 50,000 in retained earnings would put the sewer fund for FY 27 at 10,000 in the black. So that's just sort of where we are in the discussion. And stormwater, there's no change.
I think last year it was a similar time of year, right? And,
Yeah.
and inflation and costs were a big thing, so we did some reprieve then with what we could, but. I think we're really seeing the reality, the 5% is really needed. And the same with the water, 350. So I mean, we kind of did a down year already,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So-
No, I do.
Yeah.
and the sewer is tighter than the water.
Right. All right. Okay, any other further discussion on that? So we're looking at 3% with 350 in retained earnings for water, sewer 5% with 50K in retained earnings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other further discussion on this? All right, let's schedule our next meeting.
Oh,
We-
we,
One other.
Oh, wait, am I
item,
missing something? What?
was
Of
the
other,
fees.
oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I
So-
read that, but I was reading it
No,
wrong
it's
to
all right.
myself.
So for folks, it's in that packet I gave you and online it's on the screen. So through the chair, whether Dan or Kimberly that put the memo together, if you want to give us an overview of.
Kimberly will
Yep.
go
Yep.
first.
if I may, through the chair,
Mhm.
currently we do backflow testing. And we charge for those tests. Right now, it's $100 for a test and it's $75 for a retest. It costs us the same amount of money to test a device, whether it's a regular test or a retest. So I'd like to standardize that
Okay.
fee that we charge to $100 per test, whether it's a regular test or a retest.
Okay,
Sense.
all right.
The next item is fire service connection fees. We already have these fees established for 4-inch through 12-inch. We don't have a 2-inch established. We do have 2 inches going in, so we'd like to establish a rate fee for that. And my recommendation is $2,000 for that. It goes
Okay.
in line with how the others are being charged, and it does cover our costs.
The last one is the water and sewer connection fees. And so these are based on like past and future costs of capacity, water supply, wastewater collection. And so we have a calculation we do, which factors in future capital, media replacements, II removal, et cetera. And so I replugged that in with our latest, most up-to-date values. In here, you can see our current connection fee is $4,800 for the water. That's for a typical 3-bedroom house. So that would rise to $5,100, and sewer similarly $6,000 to $6,375. So they think the last time we had raised these was 2023, I believe, and right down here.
Been a few years.
Several years, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. I mean, it'll be a part of the hearing, so,
Yeah.
yeah. Pauline, you have a question?
Two very quick questions. The models that you had Barbara run on the live projection were great, very hard to see in remote land, but that's all right. Those were for discussion purposes. You will eventually hold a vote as to which ones you prefer as a group. Is that correct?
Right, probably at our next meeting,
Okay.
when we've got everything clear cut in front of us.
Sure. So will you consider what you had proposed, the 2% and 2.5% compared with what you all discussed tonight? So those of us who might attend will at least have that information? Or will you simply
do
go
that.
with the proposals you did tonight?
No, we can go with that. We'll clean everything up and at our next meeting, have everything clean cut. And then we'll have a full picture, be able to vote as to what we're going to recommend for the public hearing.
Perfect, thank you. The second question is simple. Are these rates being proposed for water and sewer only, presuming no general fund subsidy?
Yes,
Correct.
Your fingers crossed.
correct.
Okay, that's all. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Be safe. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, how's everybody feel about these rate increases for the connection fees?
I
Okay.
I think it's well done. Yeah, I think it's fair.
Right. Okay, so any further discussion on this? All right, so let's schedule the next meeting when we're gonna have, the scenarios and the new scenario. We'll have it clear cut on everything. And then from there, we'll decide what's gonna go forward for the public hearing. Okay, so let's see.
Barbara, would that would include these
The proposed
fees?
connection
proposed-
fees would go on the public hearing, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, days today, today's the 27th. Okay, did you guys want to vote on these connection fees now, or do you want to wait till the next meeting?
You can do it as part of the next meeting, do it as
Okay.
a whole package.
Okay. All right, so today's the 27th. You guys want to meet on the 10th, giving you guys 2 weeks? How's that sound?
Yeah,
Okay,
February 10th at 4 PM.
that'll give us plenty of time to get everything together and to even schedule a public hearing date and everything, so.
Yep.
Yeah, we're right on track, so we're doing good.
Yes.
Any other questions? Comments?
No,
All right,
motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair says aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.